Hello and welcome back to the Unconventional Podcast. Today we're joined by Chris Downing, so welcome.
Welcome. Thank you very much.
Would you like to give a little introduction to yourself?
A little intro. Okay. My name's Chris Downing. I'm the Director for Accounts and Bookkeepers at Sage. I've been at Sage just over 7.5 years now, and though that time has literally flown by, but prior to that, I was an accountant. So I'm an accountant by trade, a recovering accountant.
Amazing. And what was your journey into accountancy?
Actually, it goes before university. So I was at college. You have to do, let's say, that week's work experience.
Yep.
And I always thought, well, I want to go into a profession, and law didn't really excite me. So I was always been a numbers person. So I thought, let's say provide, or we do something which was practical. So I did a week's work experience with a local accountancy firm. I felt that went quite well. Went to uni, and when I was leaving uni and thinking about where I should go next, well, it's still accountancy. And I wrote two largest firms in the town. One firm had one PC between 100 people, and the firm I went to, which is the firm I did work experience with, everyone had a computer. So I thought, well, 25 years ago, that's the way forward.
100%. And so was it their technology that sort of won you over?
With the technology, but also the friendliness. It was. I had a really good time at work when I was at work experience. I really enjoyed the work, but also in the 3 years I've been at uni, I've seen that firm grow as well.
Amazing. And what did you study at uni? Was it anything to do with accounting?
Completely unrelated. I did geography. So some could say I've gone from, let's say, mountains and rivers to balance sheets and APIs. But
wow, that sounds so interesting.
But really, it comes down to a university degree is all about that application of knowledge, the practical side, the ability to be inquisitive and learn something and also apply that knowledge, isn't it?
Yeah. And so what made you make the change from being an accountant to going into somewhere like Sage?
So Sage is my second ever job, okay? So my LinkedIn CV is probably quite boring, really, in terms of where I've been. So I'd been at the firm for 19 years at that time. It was 18 years once when Sage approached me. And it was a case of, is it time for a change? Because I could easily be at that firm for the next 25, 30 years until I retire. And it's a case of people always said, Chris, go and do something else. So I took the opportunity. So I was a partner of that firm, made my way through the ranks. And I thought, let's try something different. And I've always had a really good working relationship with Sage. It's known Sage from the DOS days, my first experience of bookkeeping software. Also in those very years in terms of using the tax solutions, Sage 50, and also their cloud solutions. I've always been part of that conversation in terms of how to improve the software. So I thought it was an opportunity on the cusp of MTD for VAT. We're seeing an awful lot of change. And I thought it was an opportunity to actually work with the leading software provider and actually do something quite different in the market.
Amazing. And before we dive straight into making tax digital, for those who are listening, what is the difference between desktop software and a cloud solution?
Depends what type of function you're trying to fulfill. But really, cloud is all about collaboration. Cloud is about real time. It's also about having those insights in terms of which either the business owner needs or the accountant requires to actually do their job better. Because sometimes when a client is asking for a query, and I think especially these days, I think it's the Amazon culture, they're demanding something now, right? Next day delivery, no, it's next hour delivery on that advice. How can you deliver advice if you do not have the numbers or access to the confidence of how that business is performing? So cloud is naturally providing that better client experience. And really, that's what accountancy is about. Yes, it's delivering tax returns and year-end accounts, but actually we're a service offering, and therefore we need that access to the information, whether it's payroll, whether it's bookkeeping, financial management, data trapped in apps. That has all come to life for you using cloud solutions.
And so are you trying to get more accountants to move from desktop to cloud solutions? And do you think that will improve their overall efficiency and productivity?
Yeah, and we're seeing this every day. Actually, cloud's been around for over 20 years when you think about it. When you look at even the solutions that Sage has, like Sage Intact, that's a mid-market financial management system which has been around for over 20 years. And that was born in the cloud. And when you think about how accountants and bookkeepers are operating today, tends to be a cloud-first solution or a cloud-first approach. Sometimes the challenge is actually they have clients who've very much used to their ways of working and is actually having the conversations and showcasing what else is possible from maybe moving clients who were using desktop solutions and the capabilities that they'll get when moving to the cloud. It's still about conversations though, isn't it?
Yeah. And so what is Sage's approach to helping these firms transform?
Education.
Yep.
And support. The tools are all there. If you think about technology, cloud bookkeeping tools, everyone's on a par. The next stage is obviously about AI, and we'll talk about AI soon. But really, it's education, training, and support. Because let's be honest, you know that the professional lifestyle has never been busier, has it?
No.
You've got legislation changes all the time, or maybe U-turns sometime.
Yeah.
Clients want to have advice and guidance. Clients are doing more than just their numbers, and they rely upon us in terms of, let's say, that support and the advice, as well as we are trying to actually manage our own work-life balance as well. I think that's the key thing. We shouldn't be working ridiculous hours these days, but we cannot help ourselves to support and take on more clients.
Yeah.
We're almost addicted to in terms of prospect work. So therefore, it's a case of providing the education, the training, as well as the support in terms of getting the best out of the technology and the tools available.
100%. And so now we're going to dip our toe into making tax digital. Okay. And so for those potentially business owners that are listening that have not heard this word before, how would you describe it to someone for the first time?
Well, making tax digital is a little bit part of the name, isn't it? It's taxation as we know it. So when you think about it, there are nearly 12 million personal tax returns submitted each year. 4.5 million are submitted every January.
That's crazy.
9 months after their year end, and over 1 million people file their tax returns late. So MTD, in a nutshell, is the digitization of tax, trying to provide more of a real-time experience in terms of how sole traders and landlords not only understand their own business performance, but also get their tax right, but also remove the anxiety of that tax return. Because why are people submitting information late? Maybe it's because they don't have all the information to hand. They're scrabbling around for receipts maybe 16, 17 months ago. And when they're working with an accountant or bookkeeper, maybe they're thinking, well, what's the quality I'm handing over? So maybe, let's say, putting too much effort in terms of actually making sure they've got everything, when actually MTD enables a small business owner to share information more regularly with their accountant or bookkeeper, but also get real-time insights in terms of what their tax liability is. Because if you think for 4 million people are filing in January, how many other million are filing in November and December? They don't really appreciate their tax liability till 7 or 8 months after the year end. And their tax liability is probably the biggest number on their balance sheet.
Yeah.
And how are they supposed to invest? How do they have the confidence to grow? How do they know how much money they can put into a new car or invest in a holiday, isn't it? Yeah. And I think it's having that business reassurance MTD is. So in a nutshell, it's digital record keeping, a quarterly update to HMRC. It's not a tax return. It's not a set of accounts. It's more like a digital handshake, as well as filing their tax return via software. And I think that's probably going to be a massive change, because 35% of sole traders and landlords do not work with an accountant or bookkeeper. They prepare their own accounts and file their own tax returns via the HMRC portal.
Yeah. And
that HMRC portal will disappear for those who are mandated by MTD. And the first wave are those sole traders and landlords with gross income of more than £50,000.
And what's that start date?
April 2026. It's not far to go. If you think about it, it's going to be a big change.
Yeah.
And also with that change, it's having the confidence in terms of what the endpoint is going to be. Because it's not just about digital record keeping. It's about what is a digital record, the setup with HMRC. Accounts and bookkeepers need to perform some administration themselves. It's not just about training and education. It's new letters of engagement. It's revisiting pricing.
Yeah.
It's also, what does the tax return of the future look like? So it's lots of if, buts and maybes. And really, this is the responsibility of the technology businesses to showcase what the future is going to look like, provide confidence in terms of how the tools operate, but also demonstrate in terms of the benefits which will come to accounting practices and bookkeeping firms in terms of actually what does the end result of MTD look like? Because it's starting in April 2026, but it's not going to end for many years, because the threshold will drop down to £30,000 from 2027 and then £20,000 from April 2028. And therefore, it's a case of we'll still be talking about MTD for a number of years to come.
And so what do you think the opportunity is for accountants and bookkeepers with MTD?
The opportunity comes in many guises, because clearly the challenges are huge. Many conversations, forced conversations, and creating change in a short period of time. But clearly the opportunity is around analyzing, review, and using technology in a better way. But more importantly, trying to smooth out the workflow. Okay, the workload will be increasing because it's all about the conversation, not necessarily the data processing. And much of the workload will be around chasing clients rather than processing information. That is a reality.
Yeah.
Okay. But we need to be thinking about how other accounting firms are operating. They do have a situation where they actually encourage their clients to share information regularly.
Yeah.
Large and small. They are in a position where they're preparing and filing accounts literally weeks after the year end. And why is that? It's because they're encouraging their clients to use bank feeds. They're encouraging their clients to share information regularly. And also, as accounting firms, they are systemizing every process. And what does that mean? They are more profitable. They're more efficient. They're not chasing deadlines. And therefore, they're working well ahead of them, but also are able to deliver a fantastic service. And yes, the next 3 to 4 years will be challenging because it's not just about MTD. You got payrolling and benefits in kind coming from April 27.
Yeah.
You have continuous changes at Companies House. So it's not just the removal, let's say, web filing of accounts, which is going to drive more of those businesses who, again, prepare their own accounts to go and speak to an accountant for the very first time, but also the reporting the profit and loss account.
Yeah.
And I think we talk about April 26 being a busy period for MTD. Just imagine what quarter 3 and 4 will look like.
Yeah.
Because just imagine you'll be an October, November, December company, 26, and you want to get your accounts done early so you don't have to file a full profit and loss account from the 1st of April.
Yeah.
So 26, 27 is going to be a busy year. But again, it's thinking about how we plan ahead for that.
And how do you think accountants and bookkeepers can be in the best position to be able to potentially catch the footfall of those small businesses and landlords that are looking for accountants because they realise that they need to be MTD compliant? They can no longer use the HMRC portal. They're going to have to use software and do these quarterly handshake with HMRC. And quite frankly, they don't want to do it because it seems like a lot of effort and a lot of stress. They'd rather hand it over. So how can accountants and bookkeepers be there to open their doors to these people?
Your observation is true, because if you go back to MTD VAT, I would say simply filing a VAT return via software, but a lot of businesses actually prepared their own VAT returns and filed through the HMRC portal. And when it was the mandation of using software, they thought it was a too big a change. And accountants and bookkeepers were asked for the first time to actually start filing more VAT returns. So we're going to see this with MTD for income tax. So the key thing is HMRC have dropped their letters. So whether you're represented or unrepresented as a sole trader, you've now received a letter saying you may be involved in from April 2026. And we're already seeing conversations with accountants saying, they're picking up new work because you've got someone who's basically said, oh, what's all this about? Could you explain this for me, please? Oh, I don't really want to do this myself. Could you support me? So if you imagine there's going to be hundreds of thousands of sole traders in that first quarter from April 2026, suddenly realize they may need to do something.
Yeah.
So what do accounts bookkeepers need to do? One, focus on the priority. It's the clients you have today.
Yeah.
Get them ready, provide the awareness, the education, consider the various solutions which are available, because MTD seems like a lot of change when from Sage's point of view, it's all about choice. It's having the right choice of solution based upon your client's needs, but also it's giving the education and support in that change. So focus on the clients you've got, and actually you may choose to actually maybe reduce the clients you have, because again, your accounts and bookkeepers, they're business owners in their own right, and they need to be thinking about what's important to them. And it's a case of, yes, there will be more effort in terms of chasing clients. There are only 40 working hours in a week, and therefore it's a case of actually how do we actually make sure we use those hours appropriately, and it's focusing on those clients who are mandated by MTD, but also think about those clients who are not, but they could be made more efficient.
Yeah.
And part of the guidance is look at how you're doing once a year end clients, maybe limited companies or sole traders who aren't affected by MTD. How can you make those more efficient? Because it's all about creating capacity.
And so how would you use Sage's software if you were an accountant now to be able to streamline and make MTD more efficient for your clients?
Let's start off with the basics, okay? Understanding your client base. And I think you are a technology first accountant, aren't you?
Yeah.
So when you start out practice, you want to make sure you had the right technology. And you probably invested in practice management on day one. You don't want to be managing your clients in Excel spreadsheets. And it still amazes me, literally the tens of thousands of accounting firms are still relying on Excel spreadsheets to manage deadlines and client lists. Sage's point of view is actually every accountant bookkeeper should have access to a practice management solution, be able to manage their prospects, their client deadlines, the information all in one place. So we provide that complementary. But with that, it's also the ability to tag your clients, be able to understand those attributes in terms of the thresholds involved and the information available. So from Sage's point of view, we provide that platform to understand which clients will be affected and how to manage those jobs. But also with managing those jobs, it's having that clear access to the information on HMRC side, because one of the key things around making tax digital is access to richer data. Because one of the reasons HMRC are bringing this in is to actually improve the systems they've got. They have systems which are 20, 30, maybe 40 years old. And therefore, how do you bring all that information into one place?
Yeah.
And from Sage's point of view, we delivered this with MTD VAT. No matter how your clients filed their VAT returns, no matter which software, you can actually see the obligations, the box values of the VAT returns, what they've paid or not paid all in one place. And this is our same approach with MTD for income tax. No matter how your clients are working, you're able to see how your clients are filing. So therefore, from our point of view, it's not just managing a client base, it's also giving the right variety and choice of digital bookkeeping tools. Everything from tools which enable you to scan bank statements or get CSV files and code up books and records where your clients simply do not want to play ball and do not want to collaborate, to Sage Individual, which is a tool specifically designed for sole traders. So with bank feeds, tap to pay on the mobile applications, be able to categorize your transactions. But also we've recognized that some sole traders may just have a handful of transactions and may not see the value from software, but you as the accountant want your clients on software.
Yeah.
So Sage Individual also comes in as a free tier as well. So you can bring your bank feeds in, categorize the transactions, and still file your tax return all in one place. And then as business grows, greater functionality in the other tools available. But the real benefit of digitalization is actually how we're going to start to use generative AI within the tools.
Yes.
We cannot miss where
That's
AI
my
is.
next question.
Yeah. So where do you want to start with that one?
I don't know, you tell me. I just think AI is such an amazing tool. And obviously, as accountants, we can be quite skeptical of how to use it. And we need to be using it in the correct ways, making sure that obviously no client data is at risk or anything like that. But again, when you're talking about using your 40-hour work week to be chasing clients, are Sage using AI to be able to help chase client work as well? Are you running a business? Meet your new best friend, Sage Accounting Individual. Whether you're testing an idea, managing a side hustle, or running a full-time sole trader business, Sage makes digital record keeping a breeze. You can connect your bank, categorize transactions, and create professional invoices in seconds, and send them to customers in a click. You can even understand your profits, track who owes you money, and get your taxes sorted from your laptop or your phone. If you need a helping hand, you can get instant support from our Sage specialist via web chat, or connect with an expert accountant like me for expert business advice. With Sage, you can focus on what matters, growing your business. Join over 1.2 million UK businesses already using Sage. You can start for free today by visiting sage.com.
When you look at AI has certainly captured the imagination in terms of what is possible over the last 2.5 years. And we've possibly all dabbled in ChatGPT. We start to play with Microsoft Copilot, and now there's a whole myriad of different AI tools which are there to help to perform specific tasks. AI in general, Sage has been in the AI game for over 8 years. But when you think about what we've actually been delivering in terms of what is really tangible, that's Sage Copilot. And Sage Copilot has, from Sage's point of view, moved from, let's say, being a digital assistant sat within the bookkeeping, the HR and the payroll, plus also within our client management solution, to now be focusing on the next stage of AI, which is all about agents. Because when you think about how you're using AI today, you're probably just using a more general approach, aren't you? You're using ChatGPT to draft a social media post or help improve an email, but actually that still seems a bit clunky. You want that to be part and parcel of the finance system you've got. But also, where's your trust still in using AI? You want to have the right guardrails, but also have the right processes and workflows where the AI can play, but also maybe take away some of the drudgery of what the profession does. So you'll see so much more from Sage in terms of Sage Copilot over the next 6 to 9 months in terms of how we develop tools to actually help support the accountant, the bookkeeper, not just in terms of MTD for VAT. So our agent for that has recently been released, but also for MTD for income tax. Because again, data processing is one thing, but chasing information, reviewing the quality of the data, then also identifying those anomalies which we may want to fix and fix them for you. That's what accountants and bookkeepers need, so they can actually focus on the important things, which is actually working with their clients to actually help them grow, prosper, and just keep on top of their taxes.
100%. And so if you were speaking to an accountant who was feeling a bit nervous and stressed around making tax digital, as we know, it's just around the corner, what is a step-by-step guide you would give them to start preparing for MTD?
The first step is to understand what MTD is. There are many webinars, there are many portals you can access, there are many live personal events you can attend, but the key thing is have a really good understanding of what making tax digital is. Look beyond the fact that it's digital record keeping. Understand that these quarterly updates are not a tax return, they're not a set of accounts, they're more of a digital handshake. It's a validation really HMRC is seeking that your clients are maintaining digital records. Then let's actually think about who is in, and who is out. Because when you look at your client base, you're possibly constantly thinking about your worst clients, not your better clients, the clients which you really value. You always possibly think about those edge cases, those more complex cases. So client segmentation is key. And that's just as simple as listing out all your clients on a spreadsheet, or maybe your practice management solution, identifying what years they'll be falling into play, but also those other areas. Do they have a separate bank account? What tools are they using today? And something as simple as trying to get clients to move from one bank account where they've got their trade as well as their personal life, they've got their subscriptions and their grocery bills all in one place, just to separating business and personal affairs actually gives a greater visibility in how that business is performing. And then it's a case of actually being inquisitive. And inquisitive is about speaking to the various software providers, hopefully Sage as well, look at the various solutions available and really understand the capabilities of those tools and the support you get, plus also the investment which they may be putting into AI. And then also with that, leading the conversation with your clients, because making tax digital is a theme. It's going to be here for quite some time, and clients will have concerns about what it means for them. Therefore, own that conversation, whether that's in face-to-face, whether that's webinars, but emails. It's all about making sure that you're having confidence and being the experts in that.
Definitely. And I went to the Sage Roadshow for MTD, and I found that day so unbelievably helpful. I thought it was so well put together, but also just so informative as well. And for me, that made me come away more confident to have those conversations with clients, which I thought was really important. But also the conversation around pricing is currently a huge one, because I think obviously it's more work for us. So how would you go around having conversations with accountants about their pricing around MTD?
Pricing around MTD is actually a great opportunity, because when you consider most small business owners, their experience is a single event. They hand over some records and magically pops out a tax return and unfortunately a tax bill.
Yeah.
They do not see the effort, the work you put in place to make sure those accounts are correct. MTD basically pulls back the covers of what a set of accounts is. The business owner starts to understand actually there's more just actually reconciling a bank, isn't there? And with that, demonstrating value means there's an opportunity to revisit what the client's paying. It's just not a tax return.
Yeah.
It's not set of accounts. And part of the process of the pricing is, one, understand what does MTD involve, what's a quarterly updates. And this is why we really encourage accountants to start to participate in the HMRC testing. So this year is all about testing. So getting clients onto a piece of software, filing a quarterly update for the very first time, appreciate what's involved, but also breaking down what your service is going to be. So the service is setting the client up, and depending on what software tools the client's using, there could be some training around that. Then it's actually, what is a quarterly update? Are you going to charge for it, or is it going to be part of the service? Well, on the basis the client is trying to remove the anxiety and the pain from filing it, we'll charge for it, whether it's going to be 20, 30, 50 pounds, it's up to you. Depends what review process you want in place. And then it's thinking about the difference between data processing, which is the categorization of transactions, to the number of banks you may be reconciling. So the more banks, there should be more of a charge to it. And then also bookkeeping. Bookkeeping doesn't have to be performed until the end of the year. And what I mean is in terms of accruals, prepayments, inventory adjustments, getting fixed assets right, that can be left at the end of the year. But once clients start to appreciate maybe the benefits of understanding their tax better, they may start asking, oh, could you do these adjustments you perform at the end of the year in the year? So don't give it away, but give the option to charge the client for it. So suddenly you're turning or giving more transparency to what a £500 annual bill could be to something which is more like 60, 70, 80 pounds a month at least, because the client has a greater understanding what's involved. Plus also moving from annual payments to monthly payments.
Yeah.
So not only does it improve the cash flow of the small business owner, because I think they want to remove those large lumpy bills, but also for the profession, we then got that continuous cash flow. Plus also it gives us the opportunity to revisit the scope of work more regularly. So if the client is demanding more, or they need more advice or guidance, it's a case where the client's already paying you. And therefore it's actually starting to have a conversation about, we may need to increase that direct debit a little bit much or a little bit more over the next couple of months.
Yeah, no, I think that's really important. And so for accountants now, when you're speaking to them, what are the most common misconceptions about MTD?
I think it's breaking down the basics. They still believe that the quarterly updates is more like a formal accounts tax return, and it's not. The other big myth is the fact that clients are not required to actually provide that declaration on the quarterly updates. HMRC are not seeking that. And when you think about it, we've been programmed all our lives. Anything we submit on the client's behalf, whether it's a set of accounts or a tax return or a company's house form, we get the clients to sign off and review it. With the quarterly updates, there is not that requirement. But it doesn't mean that we do not, let's say, reduce the quality of the work we perform. And really, it just comes down to having really good, robust letters of engagement with having that scope of work. And then I think the other approach is understanding it's not about what the quarterly updates are, but what does the future look like? What is that data processing? What happens after Q4? How do you produce a set of accounts? And what does the new tax return look like? Because this is a fundamental shift, not just for how accounts and bookkeepers are working, but also how the technology providers are having to build. Because everyone is having to build a brand new Making Tax digital tax return solution or software, because box values have disappeared. And I think a really good example in that is when you consider the CIS grounds workers, which come knocking on our doors every 6th of April, wishing for their tax refunds. That's no longer a box on the tax return. That is now potentially a list of all the CIS deducted at source from the contractors. And that's some of the benefits of MTD. HMRC is able to surface more information at source for the accountant and bookkeepers that actually now validate and amend if required.
Amazing. And so when we talk about things happening in the future, obviously there's so many changes coming to accountancy. Where is the best place to stay up to date with them? Because sometimes I feel like there's so much conflicting information. And obviously, as we know, HMRC and Companies House love to do a U-turn every so often. So where is like a port of source potentially where accountants and also small business owners can go to be informed?
I think this is where Sage prides itself. I've said education and training, but it's also that advice. And this is where Sage Advice, what a great name that is. So from sage.com, Sage Advice, we publish regularly blog posts and articles aimed at specifically accountants and bookkeepers, trying to break down the latest legislation in manageable chunks, but also showcasing how technology can be used, but also easy to read guidance for small business owners as well, because on the end of the day, it's trying to give transparency, confidence, as you say, in terms of any legislation change, but also how to manage and grow your business as well. And this just brings the community back together more, doesn't it? And if it's not just Sage Advice, it's like everything. It's listening to the podcasts like this, being on LinkedIn and just seeing the conversation of maybe people having conflicting views. And this is the whole point, having a rich conversation about any subject matter, whether it's legislation change, whether you agree or disagree, but also just seeing how maybe small business owners as well as accounts and bookkeepers are transforming their own profession and doing things slightly different.
Yeah, definitely. And we've talked previously about e-invoicing. Can you explain what that is?
Yeah, so e-invoicing isn't simply an email with a PDF invoice attached to it, okay? That's not what it is. E-invoicing, I think the best described is almost like a digital handshake from one business to another. So when you make a sale to me and when you issue a sales invoice to me, that will actually make its way automatically into my bookkeeping ledger. So if you imagine today, we may receive by email or paper copy, and we'll then have to take that information like dates and description and when things need to be paid, retype that, or maybe use receipt capture tools to take the information and process it into a bookkeeping tool. Trouble with that takes time, doesn't it? Errors still creep in. So just imagine when every item on that invoice, not just about the value or the VAT element, not just the date, but also the terms of when that invoice should be paid, are automatically and correctly and accurately put into the bookkeeping or financial solution. And what does that mean? There's less time involved in terms of data processing. Accuracy is almost 100%, but also in terms of how businesses behave in terms of payments, because then there's no ambiguity in terms of, oh, I haven't received your invoice. Or what were the terms to payment?
Yeah.
What account should I be paying it to? It's there electronically. It's binary, which basically means business owners will get paid faster. But also, more importantly, think about accounts and bookkeepers. We are thinking about MTD now. We're thinking about data processing. Where invoicing could be in the UK in 3, 4, 5 years' time is actually there'll be less data processing, because e-invoicing will actually create that opportunity for the capture and the processing of data automatically, which means we can spend more time working with our clients rather than doing data processing.
And do you think that will also help MTD because you're not having to chase around for all these invoices?
It'll help MTD in 3 to 4 years' time. And that's what will need to be focused on, the opportunities. It will be a challenge now in terms of conversations and change, getting clients to change their habits and behaviors. But actually, we need to be thinking about the opportunity which will exist when the invoicing does actually help and facilitate that automatic world when data is automatically processed and the invoices are put to the right categories in the first place.
Amazing. And we all know some accountants aren't big fans of change. How are you thinking that the accounting world is dealing with this big change?
I would actually like to challenge that. I
Sure.
think accountants and bookkeepers do like change. What they may have is the nervousness in terms of what the outcomes will be. It's the unknown which is the problem. And when you think about any piece of legislation which has been muted or has dropped, it's all about understanding the outcomes and also think about how their clients will react to it.
Yeah.
And change always forces conversation, when actually what accountants and bookkeepers tend to be is control. They will control the narrative, control their workflow, also have control over their own businesses. And when you have legislative change, it's usually an awful lot of change in a short period of time, not quite knowing what the outcomes are going to be. And this is coming back to that confidence theme. You went to an event, you saw the end-to-end, you saw how your peers were talking about making tax digital, so you felt, it's not just me, everyone is in the same boat. But actually understanding, when you look at the ocean, some people are going very fast and some people are just going very steady. We're all thinking about what the destination is going to be. And usually the destination is a better place. It's just how we get there.
And what do you think potentially are the next big changes in accountancy?
We talked about legislation. So no MTDs happening. There's companies house changes, the payroll and benefits kind. That's the 2 or 3 years. E-invoicing is clearly going to be this big subject matter. And I think when people really appreciate what that will look like in 4 or 5 years' time, and I think what we will be in a position as UK PLC is able to learn from how our European partners and other countries around the world have implemented e-invoicing and therefore do it better. Okay. In terms of other big themes, it's got to be how not just technology, but how AI will be part and parcel of how we operate. It's inevitable. And I think this is where, as a profession, we really need to embrace how to use AI, whether that's themes like Sage Copilot or agents working within your practice, but also more importantly, thinking about the benefits it'll bring to your clients. Because again, we are a service offering. And therefore, as a profession, we're thinking about the client experience. And it's a case of we will be supporting more clients, because I can remember a career of 25 years. It's a case of how many clients was I supporting 25 years ago. That number certainly increased with the advent of better technology. And with more business owners wanting to concentrate on their business and not their books, it'll be inevitable that accountants and bookkeepers will be supporting more clients. And that is only possible by using the right technology.
No.
And that's probably using AI as well.
Completely agree. And where are areas in business that you think accountants could be using AI better?
Sometimes I like to keep things just really simple, okay? When you consider much of our work is around the end of year process, producing a set of accounts and tax returns, where most time is spent on those is reviewing data and fixing data. This is all about getting data in the right pots in the first time round. And what, again, always amazes me is that when you look at the UK, tools like Dex and Auto Entry, which is the foundations of any practice in terms of scanning an invoice or a bank statement and getting it into a ledger, guess what proportion of the UK profession are using those tools?
Oh, I don't know. I'd like to say 50.
50%.
Yeah.
Only about 20%.
That's crazy.
Only 20% of firms have those tools in their practice. Then if you go a little bit deeper, what proportion of their clients, those trading clients, are actually using those tools? Possibly even less.
Yeah.
So there's a massive opportunity in the profession to actually solve that problem of quality data hitting the ledgers in the right time, but also at the right accuracy level. So this is a combination of using bank feeds, using receipt capture tools. And I think that's where we can start to see a marked change. But also with that is how can AI help support that process as well? Is giving the quality in terms of chasing clients automatically, but also identifying the anomalies when mistakes have happened and fixing them as well.
Yeah, definitely. And there's a lot of people that listen to this podcast that have either just started their own practice or want to start their own practice. And they've probably heard so many different bits of tech during this conversation, probably like, oh my God, with a big list. Where would you say someone that's starting their own practice, where should they start with their tech stack?
Be really boring, the client list, because when you enter the profession, you are managing prospects, you're onboarding clients, and you're also thinking about your own bottom line, okay? So it's not just about bookkeeping tools and payroll tools. You're thinking, I'm not going to invest in practice management solutions. I'm not going to invest in a solution which helps me onboard a client better. I'm not going to do a letter of engagement piece of software because I can do that in Word and manage that in Excel, can't I? But at what point do you suddenly decide, actually, I'm spending too much time on admin, and not enough time with my clients? Is that when you get to 50 clients, 100 clients, 200 clients, 300 clients? And once you got to that stage, setting up your practice management solution can feel a little bit overwhelming, doesn't it? And it's not just the practice management solution, it's putting the tasks in place, capturing all the additional information. So the first piece of tech any person going into the profession is get their practice management solution. That's the first thing. So whether you go for a paid for solution or a complementary solution from Sage, that's the first piece of tech you should have. And from that, you can start to build your practice. You start to bring in other solutions. And also, in case it gives you the confidence in terms of where you are as a business as well.
No, and I think that's so important. I think everyone should start really basic. I remember when I came into the profession, everyone was talking about their tech stack and I was like, oh my God, that sounds so daunting and scary. But actually, it's kind of just a puzzle and you just get each piece when you need it.
Yeah.
But starting with a really core foundation of all the things that you need to cover is actually just the best, and not to overcomplicate it.
Simplicity, isn't it? That's what we're looking for in life. But also, I think that's one of the great advantages of cloud these days, because I remember in the good old days when we were considering maybe a new practice management solution or a compliance tool, that was a massive change. And also, it was a change which would usually need to happen overnight or a couple of weeks or a couple of months. So the practice had a single list and can manage effectively. The great thing about cloud these days is if you're thinking of migrating from one platform to another, whether it's practice management or compliance or payroll, cloud enables you to do that one client, one by one at the right time, as well as the need or the fact that the best practice is you shouldn't have to do bulk buying of licenses.
Yeah.
You literally buy a single license at a really good rate when you need it as well. So the whole point as a practice is mistakes do happen. The choices in terms of what you have in a tech stack will inevitably change. Technology is moving at such a fast pace. But the key thing is being at a position where you are flexible. You can actually bring in new tech, but also you can transform your practices overnight if need be.
I think so. And also having really good relationships with suppliers like Sage. And I think that's what's really important as well, to be able to go to your account manager and go, hey, this is where my practice is at. This isn't working. What can I do to fix it? Or I've got this hole that I want to make more productive or efficient. Could you give me a solution to help me integrate it into my practice so that actually it can become smoother?
And clearly, is that not the opportunity that tech and AI brings? It enables us to have the time to actually invest with people. It's that human approach. And quite often when you think about in the profession, when you get to a Friday afternoon, you're still dealing with emails from Monday, just using simple email tools to actually categorize, track, auto reply, remove that anxiety and that pressure at the end of the week. And what do you do with that time? You start to spend time with either the clients you wish to work with or just with your family and do things what you enjoy. And I think that's the key thing which we're striving for.
So what, after you did your co-pilot at Sage Roadshow, I was like, oh my God, why haven't I been using this? And I've been using it ever since. And it's brilliant because sometimes I really struggle with my dyslexia replying to emails and I don't know how to start emails off. And then I just go on Copilot, write me a reply to this email.
Starter for 10. That's what you're looking for. And I think this is where, for those who listen to podcasts who have either not using Sage at the moment or haven't even explored with ChatGPT or Microsoft Copilot, having that starter for 10 is key. It's giving the inspiration, ideas, which then you can use and start to craft and refine and put your personal touch to it.
Definitely. So the last question is, what advice would you give to those who are feeling overwhelmed with MTD and where would you send them?
So Sage will always prided ourselves in terms of the support and the breaking down a problem in manageable chunks. So we have a fantastic MTD hub. So it's got the education, the handouts, webinars, all available on demand, practical insights of what to do next. Even an Excel client segmentation tool if you're not quite happy with the tool you've got today, but also email templates to send your clients from MTD. But clearly, I think it's having those personal one-to-one conversations. I've just finished off our second series of MTD roadshows. They've gone down so well again. And that's where we're always, let's say, evolving the narrative, showing more of what's possible. So I think the key thing is to engage with live webinars so you can actually go and ask your questions which are still burning in your mind and hopefully get them answered. Speak to your peers, join some Facebook groups, but clearly just engage with the software providers because the software providers are there to support you, give the insights, the hand-holding you need, plus the guidance in terms of what to do next. And even if that's not helpful and you're still thinking, actually, I want to take the summer off, there are events kicking off from September and October. And yes, there may be 6 months to go until MTD. It's not too late. But the key thing is to actually invest some time, carve out some time, like you should do like any business. You should either review the tech stack you've got, think about working on your own business, or just being inquisitive and explore other technology solutions and just meet with your peers.
Amazing. Well, thank you so much for coming.
Thank you very much for having me.